1 second. I'm just going to make sure that worked. Okay, so in this video we're going to go over rotoscoping. So I'm going to create a new composition from footage. I'm going to use this piece of footage of a girl waving a towel on the beach, and this footage in particular is relatively easy to rotoscope because our figure is in high contrast compared to the background. You'll notice that with things that are a little bit more, there's less contrast between the figure or the thing you're trying to rotoscope and its background, the harder it is. So I've opened it up in the composition, and I need to open up the actual movie on its own layer. So you'll see up here, this will happen to you. You have our composition where we can see everything layered here. This is the composition down here. So it's actually named the wrong thing. Let's rename it for clarity. We're going to rename this our roto comp. And now you can see this is our roto comp. Here's the image, and then we can go in here to our layer where we just have the one video pulled open. So in this layer, I'm going to select the roto tool up here. It's the roto brush tool. And great. So let's see, I'm going to start to outline my figure, and you can see it's very smart. So as I do it, it kind of snaps to her figure and the towel. So that's looking great. So let's see. Now, here in this little mini timeline, the effect timeline or whatever it's called, you can see as I move through it, slowly scrub through it, it adapts to the footage. But if I stop here, I can see like it hasn't taken this this gap. So I'm going to, but I can't. So if I hold down the Alt or Option key, you'll see that my roto brush tool is red for removal. So I just snap that in there. I'm going to come over here and tweak that. I'm going to add this. So you can fine tune as you see fit. And I'm going to continue to drag through. Oh, I can see I've lost, or I've added this beach to it. I don't want that. I want this gap here. And then I'm going to keep scrubbing through. It's added this little artifact of beach. I don't want that. I've lost some towel here. I do want that. It's added beach, etc. So you're going to move through it, doing that. Oh, we have a gap between her legs. Scrub. And it will do this processing for you all the way through till the end. You see this little arrow line. So if you want it to go longer, you have to drag that out. And we'll move through again and keep checking. So we have some beach in there. We're going to get rid of it, etc. So you understand. Oops. Great. So now you can also shift here. You can change. There's 3 different ways you can look at the footage, depending on what you like to see what you're working with. You can see the feet are a little bit harder. You can always zoom in with your scroll wheel and use your hand to move down your footage. Feet are a little bit harder because they're closer to the color and contrast of the sand. So you might have to like really get in here and fine tune. So it's looking better. Excellent. Now if I go back to my composition, you can see, it's sort of a bad frame, but you can see that I have just my it's not perfect, obviously, so you can see that there's still some beach in there and some sky that I haven't worked with. But that's where you would just go, maybe you see it, and you're like, eh, and you would just go back to your layer. And just keep kind of working it out. You can change your brush size also by going over. So I'm currently, I think, in the wrong panel, but if you go to Essential Graphics, and then you have your roto brush tool selected, you should be able to see I think if we go into paint, sure. So if you go into paint as a workspace here, paint, you'll have the option here to change your brush. So you can really get a fine brush if you want to zoom in and like work on feet or something. So that's kind of a nice feature. Great. Now if I go back to my, now so paint is cool, it opens up both so you can see what you're working with and see your final result. See, composition, layer. If I drag down this effect for the roto brush tool, one thing you can do is, I currently actually so you can invert this. So instead of, if I can work, sorry, on. So you can shift this around. So instead of removing your figure, or instead of extracting your figure and removing the background, you can remove your figure and just extract the background. So that's cool. I know that you can also feather the edge. You can shift the edge. So so see in here, I've shifted the edge actually like 100% to basically eliminate that black edge that we were seeing with her, more or less. Clearer. Cool. So that is roto brushing. And again, so now we have this transparent background. You could throw something in there. I don't know what this is. Uh-oh. Shouldn't have done that. Ugh. Okay, so now we can see that video layer in the background. But maybe you also want to export it with a transparent background, which we've gone over. So we're going to go to composition, add to render queue. And then again, in output module where it says lossless, you're going to change this to RGB plus alpha, which will export it with that transparent background layer. Great.